Good evening. It's Wednesday, the 7th of December, and it's time for the news on RIK 2. President Anastasiades today briefed party leaders on his decision to restart the negotiations for a solution following the deadlock at Montpelleron in mid-November at a stormy meeting of the National Council. His decision was hailed by the two biggest parties commanding over 65% of the electorate, but has vehemently been criticised by small centre parties who accused Anastasiades of surrendering to the Turkish demands. Sources said that there was tension during the meeting of the National Council as opposition parties accused Anastasiades of mishandling the negotiations and of accepting the exclusion of the Cyprus Republic from an international conference considered to be the last stage of the negotiations. Anastasiades said after the National Council meeting that Cyprus and the European Union will be present at the conference, adding that efforts are underway to also have the permanent members of the Security Council invited to participate. He also said he accepted a suggestion by the opposition parties who criticise him that the members of the National Council must accompany him in Geneva on January the 9th. He said that January the 12th, when the conference will be held, will not be the end of the road, and the negotiations will continue if needed. Anastasiades also dismissed allegations that there is dissent between Cyprus and Athens, saying he will have two meetings with Prime Minister Alexis Tsipras tomorrow in Israel and in Brussels on December the 16th. Ruling the Sea and opposition Agel party repeated their position that the restart of the negotiations is a positive development. The extreme right-wing Ilam handed a letter confirming that it has withdrawn from the National Council. United Nations Secretary-General's Special Advisor on Cyprus, Espan Barthaida, has said that the negotiators of the two sides, who met for the second time this week, are making good progress in their discussions. In a post on his Twitter account, he said Ambassador Andreas Mavroyiannis and Turkish Cypriot negotiator Ozdil Nami have made good progress in tackling outstanding issues. Their meetings are part of a decision to restart the Cyprus negotiations in a bid to solve as many as possible of the remaining differences on issues discussed. President Nikos Anastasiades and Turkish Cypriot leader Mustafa Akinci may meet on Monday to review reports by the two negotiators and decide on further moves forward. French President François Hollande will pay a short working visit to Cyprus and will have talks with President Anastasiades on Friday, according to an official announcement. After a welcoming ceremony in the premises of the presidential palace, Anastasiades and Hollande will have a private meeting and will then make statements to the press. An official statement said the Cyprus problem will be on the agenda of the meeting, among other issues. President Hollande will be hosted at a working dinner before departing from Cyprus later in the evening. Sources said Hollande's visit to Cyprus gives a measure of France's interest in a solution of the Cyprus problem, given the fact that the country is a permanent member of the UN Security Council, which may be called to endorse an accord on the solution. Turkish Cypriot leader Mustafa Akinci concluded his deliberations in Brussels with European Union officials with a meeting he had today with European Commission President Jean-Claude Juncker. EU spokesman Margaritis Schinas said ahead of the meeting that it is very well known that Juncker is very much interested in the negotiations for a Cyprus solution under the guidance of the United Nations. The United States government has reaffirmed its commitment to help reach a just and lasting settlement to the Cyprus problem, which will reunite Cyprus as a bizonal bicommunal federation. A bi-monthly report by President Barack Obama on Cyprus said that the Cypriot leaders have made progress in their negotiations, which largely focused on issues related to property restitution, economic integration, EU harmonization, and governance and power sharing. An official press release said that a Cyprus Greece Israel summit in Jerusalem tomorrow will focus on energy matters, the environment, tourism, research and innovation, combating terrorism, and the Cyprus reunification process. President Nikos Anastasiades, who departs for Israel this evening, will take part in the summit together with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and Greek Prime Minister Alexis Tsipras. Bilateral meetings between them will also be held in the framework of the summit. President Anastasiades will be accompanied by Foreign Minister Ioannis Kasoulides, Agricultural, Rural Development and Environment Minister Nikos Goulialis, and Government Spokesman Nikos Christodoulidis. Trilateral ministerial meetings on energy and environmental matters will take place on the sidelines of the summit. President Anastasiades will return to Cyprus on Friday morning in time to welcome French President François Hollande. Turkey's Prime Minister Binali Yildirim said after talks in Moscow that Ankara plans to complete the first phase of a nuclear power plant on the southern shores of the country by 2017. The nuclear energy power plant will be constructed by Russia at Akayu, just opposite the north shores of Cyprus. Environmental organizations both in Cyprus and Turkey have expressed concern because of the construction of a nuclear plant in the region is prone to quakes. Yildirim held talks on the issue with Russia's President Vladimir Putin and Prime Minister Dmitry Medvedev. He said that his talks also covered the construction of a gas pipeline called the Turkish Stream, and added that Putin said he was pleased with Turkish President Tayyip Erdogan that he signed the pipeline agreement. The death toll from a strong earthquake that hit northern Indonesia's Aceh province today has risen to 93, as rescuers continued searching dozens of collapsed buildings for trapped survivors. Search and rescue teams cleared rubble and reached what authorities believed were dozens of victims trapped after the magnitude 6.5 quake. The National Disaster Management Agency said a state of emergency had been declared in Aceh, which sits on the northern tip of Indonesia's Sumatra island. President Joko Widodo said he had instructed his chief of staff to visit the disaster area. Aceh was devastated by a massive earthquake and tsunami centered on its western coast near the provincial capital Banda Aceh on December 26, 2004. Today's quake hit the east coast of the province, about 170 kilometers from Banda Aceh. And now a look at tomorrow's weather. It will start out cloudy, but will later become mostly fine in all areas. Winds will be light to moderate, coming from sea directions, force 3 to 4. The sea will be calm to slight. Temperatures will reach 19 Celsius inland, 20 in coastal areas, and 9 over the mountains. It will be mostly fine over the next 3 days, with temperatures dropping as of tomorrow, but going up again on Saturday. That's all for today. Join us tomorrow again for more news in English. Have a very good evening.